this video because it's very important and it's a part of everything I'm saying with colorism. I talked about this so many times with colorism and people saying that colorism exists. If it exists, then how do you get people who are light-skinned? And I know from this person, the way they talk about like Lucia Divestment and people like that being brown-skinned. They are actually light-skinned from what they say, at least. And they still are jealous of someone who is brown-skinned. It really was just that colorism really did make people, feel like they were treated better. They would never have to be angry at anybody who was darker than them. They would never be jealous of someone who was darker than them, but they are. And that's all I've ever learned growing up, honestly. Among lighter-skinned people, it's always seemed like there is a vehement hate. And not like I'm better than you hate, more so like I wish I had what you have hate. And, the thing is here, a lot of the time, light-skinned people, their insecurity is not their skin tone. Their insecurity usually lies more in their facial features or hair. So they can get mad at people who don't have the actual features that bind them to African ancestry. See this. Someone can have a light brown complexion and be maybe, someone who basically doesn't look black, but they basically look like whatever race, maybe Asian, Indian, Hispanic, any other race. They have different facial features. And say they have straight hair, but they have browner skin than that other light-skinned individual who has light skin. The thing is, when these situations happen, it's more so likely that a lot of light-skinned people have insecurities on their facial features specifically, because that's what caused them all their pain. From not being able to use the bathroom that white people use, to not being able to get the career they wanted, to being discriminated against, to, the point of you when you were, like, during slavery times, being raped, being slaves, that all had to do with their facial features, not their skin tone. See, light-skinned people and even light brown-skinned people in this situation both have skin tones in common with other races, basically. They have it in common with Asians, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Arabs. So, the thing is, between light-skinned people and light brown-skinned people, is many of the time, these people will be upset and jealous of the people who have features that don't look black, because the thing binding them to blackness is their facial features. So then the light-skinned black person with the black features becomes just the same thing that they talk about when they talk about dark-skinned black people being jealous of them. That's why, for me, growing up, it's always been, more so from my perspective, light-skinned black people who were mostly angry at me. And it seems like more of the time they have this mentality because they internalize a white supremacy or white idealistic standard to beauty, especially. And when they do that, they cut themselves down because they can't win. How are you going to win a contest when you don't even have a European or Eurocentric face? Like, that's a dumbass thing to do. But these people don't think, really. They don't think of the grand scheme of things. And the thing is, I think most of the time they don't want to think because maybe once they thought about it and it made them feel so insecure, so they go after dark-skinned black women to feel better about themselves. Because between the dark-skinned black women that has their features and themselves, they have one thing over them. And this goes into the whole point of how this lady got triggered by me, saying how some channels focus on light-skinned women to be fantasized by dark-skinned men. But the reason that is done is because of what I just said, because they can only feel that they can compete with dark-skinned black women. So then they go for their men because they feel like it's a better option for themselves. So that's why it triggers them, because when you try and say, okay, if you want to have a sense of identity of yourself, and have an identity of being biracial or feeling like you were treated differently because you're lighter skinned, then you appeal to your own men and you create a community with your own men. But they can't do that because if they did that, they would feel more black. This way they feel less black. It can create their fantasy because they are less black than the person they're with. So that's why they get triggered. And this is the thing that I've constantly had a problem with light-skinned channels that have this mentality. Because they get upset at me because I'm the type who isn't into the dark-skinned black man. I'm interested in men that have my own image. One, and then also, it's not just men my own image, it's also men that are, other races too. I've almost always dated someone who was white, except a few times it was half. One time it was Colombian guy, one time it was half Hispanic, and another time Puerto Rican. But generally, men I've been involved with were not black, basically. So I think that's what bothers some of them, because then they feel inferior because they have this complex in their minds that black is less than and they are better. Now, if someone is with something that isn't black, then they feel less than that person. And so that's why it triggers them. This is one main reason why some channels are basically triggered by the divestment movement because of that whole situation going on there. The thing is, for me, I'm not triggered by them. I don't care what they do, really, honestly. The only problem I've ever had was the fact that, if you share a similar image to someone and they prefer black men, and then they create the image that people that look like me basically prefer black men who are dark skinned. Then that's problematic for me because then I get men that I don't have any sexual attraction to. So then that's the whole problem for me there. But lately, honestly, it's not really been a problem because of the whole COVID situation and less interactions with people. Generally, I never blamed light-skinned black women for that anyway. I generally blame dark-skinned black men who can't control themselves sometimes and sometimes become violent. But the point is, I'm just saying that, I think that's a major problem with the light-skinned channels, that they get triggered when you bring up that you need to focus on light-skinned black men too. I didn't say you have to ignore light-skinned black women. You have to have a sense of community for both people. If you are such a community, then you have a community for both people. If you are just trying to fake it out here and try and be black, but not at the same time and just trying to appeal to a black man, then that's a whole different thing. And that just seems like you need some therapy and you need to make yourself seem a little bit better because you are basically trying to cash out on somebody else's lack of self-esteem. So that's all I have to say. Thanks, bye.